Morning, guys. Welcome back to a really weird term. I wish I could see you all. I miss all your faces, and I miss seeing you just pottering past our door and then reception and everything. And I'm thinking about how you're all doing. So get in touch with us, Ellen or I, if you're struggling and you need someone to chat to. Even if you've never met us before, that's fine. Get in touch by email, or we're on Facebook and things. So make sure you're doing that if you're struggling. This week's good mental health tip is all about adapting to change. Change is something that lots of us don't like. Some of us will be more open to it than others, and some of us will really struggle. This is obviously a huge change right now, and it's probably maybe one of the biggest changes that we'll live through in our lifetime. And even though it's hopefully only temporary, it's still sometimes pretty difficult to come to terms with this kind of new normal that we're in. So our mental health can really be affected by that. We can feel really overwhelmed. We can feel really under pressure. We can feel isolated and alone. That's a bit scary. So my best advice to you for keeping some good mental health in this time is to think about the things that you can control and the things that you can't. The things that you can't, find a way to come to terms with that, to accept that, to think, okay, this is what it is. There isn't anything I can do about this, so I have to find a way to adapt. Think about the ways that humans have adapted to live in every terrain on Earth, to live in all kinds of societies with all kinds of leadership and all kinds of living situations with all kinds of war and famine and times of plenty. We're super adaptable. So think about, okay, what are the things that I'm really missing right now? And are there other ways that I can get the same effect? So, for example, I'm really missing hanging out with people, as we all are. So some of my friends are doing quizzes, and we all join in and do that, and that's really fun. Or I'm doing lots of Zoom times with my family, or going outside, even if it's not to hang out with people. Seeing other people is quite helpful sometimes. Just seeing that there are other people still doing things in the world. So obviously observe social distancing and do it for exercise and things like that. But getting outside and realising that the world is still going on is probably pretty helpful. But above all, just think about how you can adapt to change. So not, oh my gosh, don't focus on the fact that this is overwhelming and a huge change. Try and think about, how can I adapt to this? How can I be the kind of person who is annoyed and feels a bit exhausted and overwhelmed by all the change, but is actually able to think, okay, this is temporary. How am I going to get through this? And having that kind of attitude of can do is probably a bit more helpful than thinking, oh, this is all terrible. Obviously, we all have those moments, and that's okay. And definitely get in touch if you're struggling a lot. But we can protect our good mental health by thinking, okay, do you know what? I can do this. I can find a way through this. And talking to other people about how they're doing that and making sure that you are staying in communication with others will really help. Hope you guys are all okay. And like I said, we really missed you, and welcome back.
Welcome back. I hope you had a good Easter. My contribution to today's assembly really centres around three things. First of all, an update. And I say update, I'm not really going to give any new information. So is it an update? Who knows? So lots of you have been emailing me asking about when school's likely to return. We have no idea, unfortunately. I read in the newspaper on Sunday that it was looking like maybe Year 12 students would be come back into school in a couple of weeks, only for a few hours later to hear the government's kind of response to that, and it seemed unlikely. So we don't know, unfortunately, when we are going to be returning to school. And as soon as we know anything, of course, we'll be in contact with you to share that and to share the plan. But in the reality is, at some point, hopefully fairly soon, you will be returning to school. So second of all, I wanted to say something about schoolwork and about your responsibility there as students to ensure that that schoolwork gets completed. Now, on the one hand, I completely think at the moment the most important thing at the moment for you to manage and be aware of and work with is your mental health. That is the most important thing at the moment. On the other hand, as a school, we also have a responsibility to prepare you for your A levels and for progress in your subjects and for your future. Um, and therefore, really, with that in mind, with schoolwork at the moment, if you're doing very little or doing nothing, there will be consequences there. It won't be that long before you'll be applying maybe to university, or all of you will be very soon in your year 13 year. And that year 13 year flies by, and it's not long before you have your kind of all your exams at the end of the year. So time flies by. So I know this is a really difficult time, and I know, it's very easy for me to sit here and say, oh yeah, you should be doing all your work, you shouldn't be behind. That's easy for me to say. I'm not. I'm fortunately, I haven't personally been affected by coronavirus. My health and my family's health has been. There's not been any issues. I'm fully aware, no doubt, that many of you, you haven't been as lucky. You might have been unwell and really worried about the situation with your health. Maybe a family member, maybe a friend, someone or maybe a parent has been working long hours in a really stressful situation. Of course, that takes its toll on everybody. So this has been a really, really difficult, and continues to be a really difficult time. And if you are a little bit behind on your schoolwork, or just behind on your schoolwork, that is completely understandable, and there's plenty of time to kind of catch up, all in due course. On the other hand, if you do nothing, and linked into my last point, really, which is about communication, if you do nothing, then there are consequences there. So hopefully I got the balance there right. It is important as a school, I think, that we also, as well as support you most importantly with your mental health, that we also just make you clear that schoolwork is important, your progress in your subject is important. This comes at a key time in your A levels, but we of course will support you fully. If finally, communication. That's my third and final point about is communication. Communication is so important in these difficult times for lots of different reasons. But in terms of communication between you as a student and your teachers and staff at Redcliffe, that is really important. And communication, if you are finding things really difficult, and that's completely understandable, then we need to know. You need to be communicating that with us. There's plenty of support. So Josie, our pastoral enrichment worker, has been calling lots of students to check in with them and talk about organisation and study skills. If you haven't had a call but you'd like a call from Josie, please let me know and I can arrange that. If you would like to speak with one of our learning mentors, maybe you've met with Emma or Helen before, maybe you haven't, and you would like some emotional support, please get in contact again with myself or with Emma or Helen if you have their details already. And in terms of, we're going to put a link out with the assembly when you get this. Off the record, have got in contact to promote some of the sessions that they're putting on. So do look through that. There's lots of really good kind of support there, and communication is key. I suppose it links in with responsibility. Taking full responsibility for your studies is not, I find this difficult, therefore I'm not going to do it, or I'm not sure if I have work to do because I haven't received an email. Taking responsibility is, if you don't think you've received an email, from a teacher, email them. Taking responsibility is, if you find something difficult, in terms of the schoolwork, email your teachers. We are, expecting you to get in contact and wanting you to get in contact with us for us to support you over this really difficult time. So communication is key. If you know of someone who is having Wi-Fi problems, you maybe don't have internet at home, or there's an issue there, or you know of someone that there's an issue there, or maybe with a laptop or IT generally, please let us know and we can see what we can do to support you there as well. And communication kind of works two ways. We've tried to be really clear with you in terms of what you need to be doing, and communication and support from progression, mental health and study skills. That communication kind of works both ways. We sent you a link, Mr. Wheeler sent you a link recently about supplementary options for year 13, when you will be doing 3 subjects, no doubt, plus a supplementary option. Many will be doing EPQ and global perspectives, and hopefully you're cracking on thinking about your essay at the moment. Many of you might opt to do volunteering or work experience instead, but we need to know. And communication is really important. And we've sent you a link to do a survey to tell us what you would like to do as your supplementary option. And only about half of students so far have completed that. So please, can you make sure you do that survey and just generally respond, to our messages, and keep on, do email us, tell us, how you're finding things, what we can do to help. We are very keen to support you. It will not be long. It does feel like we are closer, doesn't it? I think so, closer to returning, although we don't know, of course, when that will be. And you need to be ready for year 13. You need to be ready for your A levels. You need to. This is important. This is your future, and we want to do all we can to help with that. So do kind of stay safe and speak soon. Get in contact. My wife is yet to have a baby, so hopefully very soon I'll update you there. We're expecting it this week, but it's not happened yet. So I will get in contact with you, at some point, maybe next week, with another update to the virtual assembly. But yeah, please get in contact if we can do anything.
12, welcome to week 3 of the progression section of virtual assembly. So as you can see, I thought I'd do things a bit differently this week. So on the screen you can see our SMRT progression website that was part of week 1 progression virtual assembly as part of your research. So just a reminder that this exists and it's hopefully quite useful. Lots of information about different aspects of the progression process, lots of which we will go through in the coming weeks and months, but a useful website for you to instantly get that information. Now, the attachment that was part of the email that you've just been sent to access this assembly link talks through your progression work for this week, so what we would normally have been doing in a core lesson. So if I just click down here and show you, so the focus for this week is self-development, so that's going to look quite differently for all of you, but it's about seeing where you're at and what you can do to develop yourself in terms of your progression further. So for some of you that might be booking a careers appointment. We're very lucky at school to have a very experienced careers advisor who, while we're not at school, is giving one-to-one meetings via email. So to book an appointment, you need to just complete a Google form, which is linked here. It will take you between 20 and 40 minutes, depending on the level of detail, and then he will be able to get back to you with some really detailed advice tailored to your needs. So that's the first one. If you feel that you feel okay, that you know what you want to do, you might opt to attend a webinar. So lots of universities are hosting these. Manchester Met, for example, are hosting webinar Wednesdays and have got a host of different topics about applying to university, student finance and apprenticeships. And then lastly, continue to enhance your subject knowledge. Next week we will be starting to write and structure your personal statements. So having something in there that you can write about how you developed an interest in your subject and you've learned a bit more about your subject is really useful, and it's what admissions tutors will be looking out for. So do have a look at some of those. So I hope that was useful. Get in touch via email if you need anything, and like I said, next week's progression focus we will be starting to write those personal statements. Bye.